and no disrespect, but like for example, the last 2 years, we've missed kicks. Obviously, Parkey's double doink and Eddie Pinheiro missing the kick against the Chargers. When it's the last play of the game, the kick is no good. I just don't want to say it's no good. It's obvious. Like last year when Parkey hit the upright and then the crossbar, I just took off my headset, even though there was one play to go. They had a kneel down.
Right.
And I said to my spotter, great season. I wish it had gone farther.
So,
because why do you want to, at that point, everybody's like a double dagger in someone's heart. And Eddie Pinheiro is a great young man, and I didn't have the heart, Pinheiro's kick is no good, wide to the left. I couldn't say that.
Pinheiro's
Everyone
kick.
Everyone knew it was wide to the left.
Is no good, and his future as a Bear.
Yeah, final score.
Is it?
Oh, that hurts.
I'm actually curious about the logistics. You wear a headset during the game?
I do. In the old Soldier Field, I didn't have a headset microphone, and the speaker system then was, quite frankly, a bit antiquated. And if I would say, Carman took the handoff, I would have finished handoff, and Carman had not yet come out of the speaker system. With the headset mic at the new Soldier Field, and similarly at Illinois in 2002, it was maybe only a quarter to a half-second delay. And so I was able to be more conversational. It's different when you're hearing yourself back at that level to sustain a long sentence or thought, because it echoes back and forth too much.
Yeah, I mean, I could push a button in here, and then you would hear yourself back, and nobody can. Whenever that's going on unintentionally, people, I can't do this interview right now because it's too confusing.
Right, and I also have, my spotter is in my one ear, and then my producer is in the other ear, and the sound man shares the ear with the producer, and then there's the music fella who has to talk to the producer, and when they're talking, and then Bill, my spotter, Bill Wilkie, gives me like the tackler or, who carried, kind of affirming what I saw. You have to kind of listen with each ear, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge, but it's like anything else. If you discipline and get used to it, everything's attainable, really. I also keep my own drive chart now too.
Oh, really? Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot going on.
I used to have two spotters. Now I just have one because of the necessity of the booth and the staff that needs to run the scoreboard, the video board, the ribbons, the coordination. So they asked me, "Do you think you can do the drive chart?" So I've been doing it now for 5 years, which is fun.
So for those who don't understand, Jim, what do you have to do during the game is just to put the drive chart together so you know exactly what's going on?
Correct. So game starts, start the game, Eddie Pinheiro kick off. Who is the Lions return man? Jamal Agnew is deep for Detroit. So there's a touchback. I have the side of the Lions, down, yards to go, yard line, TOP, time of possession. So 1st and 10 at the 25. So the handoff goes to Perkins. He gains 2. While I say it, I'm writing it. Perkins gained 2, brought down by Kwiatkowski, 2nd and 8 at the 27. So then I'm able to give the down and distance in a quick manner, and I don't want to rely on the scoreboard because sometimes we disagree just on the visual, and I would prefer to say it the way I see it. The scoreboard guy does a great job, but it's really tough. The NFL has a peculiar rule. If a ball, let's say you're going forward, and if it's past the hash, even though it's closer to the one that was just attained, you go to the next hash mark. So if the ball is not touching the back end of the hash mark, it goes to the next one. That's where the ball is spotted for statistical purposes. So stuff you learn after a while. I know it's a technical thing, but it lends something to the game.
All that matters. I mean, you can't be getting
right.
You can't get the yard line wrong. People are going to be sitting there in the seats like, "What are you doing, Jim?" They're on the 34.
Right. Like the other day, like the game on Sunday, I was so excited. I had a big loss. I called the loss at the 35 when it was the 45. And you know right away when you make a mistake. So I said, correction. And I kind of had like, come on, you stupido. So, and I said the 45. And so the crowd got a good laugh out of it.
Yeah, and that's also, you're in relation with the crowd. You're calling yourself out. It's a beautiful thing.
Right.
Real quick, I just want to hear a little basketball thought because, I mean, you got this. I mean, DePaul basketball obviously has been scuffling for a long time, but before Michael and when they were on WGN TV, before ESPN and whatnot, the Demons were as big as any team in this city, and you were sitting right there you mentioned Mark Aguirre and Ray Meyer and that team, and then you saw, I mean, even in the 80s, you had great players. Rod Strickland, Kenny Patterson, Skip Dillard, just Terry Cummings, a ton of talent.
Yeah, I started in 1977. In the 3 years at Alumni Hall, the 42 games I did, they didn't lose one. And then combining that with the first 4 years at the Horizon, DePaul's record was 107-3 in the games I did. It was just, it'll never be duplicated by any team in college basketball again. And those games were as exciting. I grew up in the DePaul neighborhood in the 50s, and my two uncles went to DePaul Academy. They closed the high school in the 60s, and my family was very friendly with the Vincentian priests, and that order runs DePaul. And the genesis of my PA career began with a friendship with my family and the Vincentian priests. And I got to tell you, the excitement of that first year in the Horizon, the Notre Dame DePaul game on the last Sunday of the regular season, the DePaul ticket manager said, I've had requests for almost 50,000 tickets.
I believe it.
And they jammed 18,000 people in. It was Enberg, McGuire, Billy Packer. I mean, it was just the tension and the excitement. But what I remember most, the 87 NCAA tournament first round games were on a Friday at the Horizon. And the first game was Temple, who was like ranked 2 or 3, John Chaney, playing Southern University, who has the greatest collegiate band always. And at 11 o'clock on a Friday morning, there was 18,000 people in the Horizon, sold out.
It's awesome.
Just the impact of what DePaul had done to create the interest. And a couple years earlier, Gene Sullivan with the Alfedra Hughes team and Carl Golston got to the Sweet 16 and lost to Georgetown. And Michael, was just starting to come. He had that 86 playoff year when he scored, 63 or something like that against Boston. But like you said, that window from 77 until the Bulls started to win, DePaul was the biggest and toughest ticket in town. And people came through blizzards on a January night to watch them play, Centenary. No disrespect, but you know what I'm saying? It was everything in Chicago. And who didn't love Ray Meyer? My goodness.
Right. The Bulls were averaging, if memory serves, and I know it does, they were averaging 6,000 a game at the stadium. The Sting were drawing 11,000, and the Hawks, of course, were selling out. And DePaul was Chicago basketball. Period. End of story. And those teams were just awesome. And I can remember, I grew up. We were in Highland Park, so we were close to Northwestern, and my family didn't want to drive out to the Horizon, and they were more professional basketball fans, Jim. But I remember going to an NIT game at Alumni Hall with Northwestern and DePaul. I don't know if you got to call that game, or maybe that was Northwestern's PA guy, but I'm sure you remember that game.
It was 1983.
Yeah,
yes.
And the Demons won, I believe, by 2. Am I right about that, or did Northwestern win that game?
Kenny Patterson took an inbounds pass and shot it over his head almost near center court and it went in. 60-58, if I remember.
60-58.
Yeah.
I just
that was the only game I've ever worked in sports where the crowd was truly 50-50. Half DePaul, half Northwestern.
Wow. No.
It was that was one of the most exciting games I did because the rivalry that really didn't exist, but the fact that the geography made it a special game and it meant something. It was a tournament, and they were using the beach ball colored ball, the red, white, and blue ball.
Yeah.
And imagine a first round NIT game and you draw 18,000 people.
And
it was fun.
That arena was just absolutely phenomenal. It was, Old Alumni Hall was the greatest.
No question about it.
Yeah.
The atmosphere, I remember they had the tragedy in the summer of 1979 where the roof collapsed while they were building the Horizon.
Wow, I don't remember that. Okay.
Paul had scheduled with NBC to play LSU on national television on the premise that it would be played at the Horizon. So the Horizon got delayed till the fall of 80. Well, NBC let DePaul play LSU, or they, consented to it in front of 5,300 fans on Super Bowl Sunday in 1980. The excitement in that building and those people. And on the opening tip, DePaul made a tip play and Aguirre dunked it off the opening tip. Actually, I thought the building was coming down. I'm not exaggerating. It actually shook, I swear to God. Those are the memories that, you sit back and like to reminisce. That's the top 2 or 3 for me.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap up with the Bears. Favorite Bear of all time, Jim?
My favorite Bear of all time was someone who played before I start doing the games. Number 40, Gale Sayers.
Wow. I love that.
Most exciting every time. Now, Sayers broke in 65. I was 15. Every time he touched the ball, I thought he could score. It just, no one could cut. No one could change direction and not lose a step. And the 65 Bear team was really good. And then it sort of went down, and then Gale got hurt in 68. But even when he came back on one leg, he ran for 1,000 yards in 69, which was 1,000 yards was really rare in the NFL then. But far and away, most exciting football player I've ever seen in person.
Yeah, it's funny. My family, they basically, and I mean this with as much respect as I can possibly give to 34, but they ruined Walter Payton for me. Because when I was a kid growing up, everyone was saying that, Walter's the greatest football player of all time. And I'd go to dinner, and my dad'd be like, "No one's better than Gale Sayers." The guy was
right.
that was the house. And so I would be going to school. Gale Sayers was better than Walter. Which,
yeah, and of course, I came on board in 82, and Walter was in his 8th year then, and he still was a dominant factor. Could catch the ball blocked, but from pure excitement and breakaway speed, and just the sense when he got the ball, is Gale going to go? Walter was a complete player, but for pure excitement, there was no one quite like number 40.
Yeah. What will you miss?
Your parents were right.
Yeah, no, yeah. I have 2 older brothers. They're much older than me. They would say the same stuff. And when Gale got hurt, it was like it must have been like a death in the Carman family. But what will you miss most about doing the games, Jim?
I think what I'll miss most is the game day when you park, you'd go through security. And everyone, of course, I've been there so long, saying hi to the people that work there, checking in, talking to my friends in the booth, walking over into the press box to have breakfast in your kibitz with Brian Bashnagel is usually in there with RoboCop.